Hello and welcome. Right now we're going to look at power analysis. Power analysis is basically just a method to figure out whether a statistical study that we're going to carry out is worth it or not. That's the main bottom line in this entire topic. Intuitively, you might be like, okay, we need more data always, we need more samples always. But for example, if we just have 500 samples and we can figure out a proper conclusion that validates our study, why would we go for 1000 samples? Why would we go for 1500 unless we really need it, right? So the goal is to figure out what this magic number is. In every use case, we're going to have a different number. For example, the number of samples. So we can figure out whether we have to use 500 or in times where we actually need 1500. That's what power analysis actually deals with. Power analysis asks the question, is this study worth it? And to make it as optimal as possible, how can we balance our utilization parameters, if you could call them? All right, so these are the four main pillars of power analysis: effect size, sample size, alpha, and beta. Basically, they work in a hand in hand fashion. This means that if effect size has a significant change, it also has a direct change on sample size, alpha, and beta. All right, so what is effect size? Effect size is basically trying to figure out how hard it is to diagnose or accept or reject a certain outcome, right? For example, if we have to figure out whether this certain medicine increases the chance or decreases the chance of diabetes by 2%, we need it's a pretty small effect, right? Since it's a very small effect, we need to bump up the sample size, be careful of the alpha and beta as well. But for example, suppose we have to design a parachute. This parachute will either work or it won't, right? And we'll instantly have an effect of whether it works or not just by whether it opens or not, leading to catastrophe or success, right? So by these two examples, we can see that the diabetes medicine thing will be considered a small effect and the parachute thing will be considered a big effect. This in turn, like we saw, has a direct impact on the sample size, alpha and beta. All right. So sample size is basically the number of samples we need. This depends on the use case as well. Suppose we have a very simple problem to solve, we can use a very small sample size. Suppose we have a difficult problem to solve, just like the diabetes problem, it's going to require a lot more samples to be sure, right? Since it's a health-based application and you can't really take any chances there, right? So next we have the alpha parameter, which basically goes hand in hand with the beta a bit more closely than the others. Alpha is basically where we have to show some concern while falsely rejecting the base claim. What does that mean? What does that actually mean, right? So the base claim is a static ground believed truth at the start. Suppose I want to prove that this medicine works. The base claim is going to be that the older medicine works, right? The newer medicine does not have a significant change from the older medicine. And suppose if we falsely reject the base claim, saying that the older medicine is not as good as the new medicine, so the newer one's better, so our statistical study is a success. If we falsely reject the base claim, like I said, then we're going to have a problem, right? Suppose the new medicine does not actually work that much better than the older one, then we're doing a mistake somewhere. And the beta is slightly an inversion of the alpha. So suppose if we have a new medicine that actually works, yet we say that the new medicine does not work, we'll just stick to the older medicine, which is our base claim. That means that our beta value has to be reconfigured, right? So we're making a mistake there. So alpha and beta go very tight. We have to adjust them so that we don't give too much priority to the base claim and we don't give too much priority to the new claim as well. We have to balance it out. And effect size is pretty visible at the start itself for certain use cases, but if you go very deep, then we'll have to conduct studies for that on its own. Sample size also, we have to optimize it so that we can not waste a lot of time or money and we can arrive to a good conclusion by balancing these two factors out, right? So yeah, these are the four pillars of power analysis: effect size, sample size, alpha and beta. So why do we actually need this, right? Just like I said, we have to make sure that the statistical study, which might take, actually it might take years, we have to make sure that it does not go to waste, right? Because if we're taking years for a study, every resource that we have, it has to be compounding somewhere. It has to be converting somewhere to a good output, right? So we have to be careful that we shouldn't waste time, shouldn't waste money, we shouldn't waste intellect. So to balance all these things and to make sure that our study is going to be somehow useful to whatever application we're working in. These four parameters help. And suppose if you're going to be starting a study on something on your own or for someone else, then, and suppose we're going to start a study on something, we have to make sure that these parameters are first balanced out, and only then we can head into the other factors and the other steps as well. And yeah, that's about it about power analysis. It's not a very difficult concept, but once we dive into effect size, sample size, alpha beta, balancing out the alpha beta, it's going to be a lot more tense. It's going to be a lot more care and attention that we'll have to put into these factors. And yeah, that's about it for power analysis. Thank you all for watching. Hope you learned something. And always remember that curiosity is the only reason we gotten this far. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.